Jacob, it's been 6 months without Julie now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure because Julie was such a big part of a lot of people's lives. Your wife, but a lot of other people's friend, a mentor. It must be strange for some people to approach you to talk about Julie. How do you feel talking about Julie?
Well, I love talking about Julie, but it's hard for most people to bring up the subject because, when she passed away, like you said, she was a mom to a lot of people, a wife, and way more than a wife to me. But and you feel it. The loss was massive, and so people are a little bit afraid to talk to me about her, thinking that it's gonna, make me all sad and be hard for me. But the thing is, it does help. It does help for me to talk about her.
Yeah. What are some of the other things that have helped you in your grieving process? Things that people have done for you or that really help you in every day?
Well, I remember when Julie first passed away, I remember I'm in my living room right now, and I remember a couple days before she passed away, I was feeling like the grace that God had given me during her sickness had lifted. And I said, oh Lord, no, I'm going to have a grace that you make specially for me during this next phase in my life, because I'm not going to live without it. And then the day she passed away, God gave this grace and this peace that has been unbelievable. But right after that, I said, how am I supposed to grieve? Because I've never had to grieve, And so he did put on my heart, to give thanks in all things and rejoice in the God of my salvation. Don't throw my relationship with God out the window. Keep on doing the work that God's placed before me. That's really helped me. I told somebody today, probably the medicine that's been best for me during this time is Thanksgiving, being grateful. Not what happened, be grateful because of what happened, but be grateful for everything I have and everything I had, which is a great thing. And when people talk to me about Julie, it's not really like they can do a whole lot or say a whole lot that actually makes my grieving process better. But if they would just, hey, you want to have coffee tomorrow morning? Yeah, sure. And say, what time? 8 o'clock. Okay, so then we're having coffee at 8 o'clock, and then just, bring up the topic of Julie, and then I end up start talking, and I'll talk for 15, 20 minutes, and they really don't have to say anything, and they don't need to. But for me to be able to talk about it makes me a little bit happy.
Well, Julie was sick, and we were praying for her. You went public about it, and there was a lot of sharing and a lot on social media, and there was a lot of faith while she was sick. Do you have questions you ask God now?
No, I don't have any questions now. I asked the questions before. This is so important to me. I'm not mad at God today, and I don't question what he did. But I believe I settled that before I settled that 6 months before she passed away. I remember being in the prayer room, and I was telling God, you know what I want. I'm telling you every day. Thousands of people are telling you every day what we want. And when I surrendered and I just said, I don't know what you want, and I believe in healing, and I know you do miracles, but yet I'm just going to surrender my will to yours and say, God, do what you want. And God put in my heart that day that nothing could take Julie's life, that she was exclusively in his hands. And when he said that, in my heart, when I heard that, peace came into my heart. I go, she's okay. So no matter if you raise her up or if you take her, she's in your hands. It gave me such a peace, and that word has carried me through a year later. Now it's a year later. 6 months of more of her sickness, 6 months now of not having her, and then we haven't inscribed it on the top of her marble tombstone, exclusivamente en sus manos, and then in English, exclusively in his hands. And that word that God gave me is really what helps me not to say, do all these questions that sometimes we would have a tendency to do towards God or get mad.
How's ministry without Julie? How's on the Red Box without Julie? She was, as we've talked about, such an important part
Right.
of a lot of people.
Yeah,
Lives.
Yeah, I mean, losing Julie was a blow to the midsection. I mean, we all got the wind knocked out of us, and we really feel her absence. I mean, she administratively, just her being the mother figure, keeping everything running smoothly. I mean, we really notice her. Other people have raised up and are filling in the gaps, but ministry, we're still feeling it, and that's been 6 months. We're still feeling like, let's just keep going, because we miss her a lot. I mean, I was part of I wrote a list of all the things I lost with Julie, not just a wife, but like a ministry partner, somebody that did ministry with me. But I want to tell you something interesting. When somebody goes through the kind of loss that I've just gone through, okay, you lose your spouse after 35 years. I mean, every area of your life is going to be affected. And I realized in this last week, there's one part of my life that has gone through unscathed, untouched, and that's my calling. It just blows my mind. I think, okay, every area of my life was just beat up, and yet not even for a week. I mean, within 4 days, we were out on the street preaching again, not because like we're super spiritual, just because, man, we've got a calling to fulfill, and it didn't diminish. And so my desire for just seeking the Lord and training evangelists and being on the street evangelizing, it was untouched. It's still strong. And that surprises me. But I guess maybe that's because that's something that's eternal, That's my only explanation for it.
What are some of the things that God has taught you or Jesus has revealed to you in the last 6 months?
Yeah, a lot of times we have Christian cliches, God's grace is sufficient. The thing is, it is. But until you actually really need it, you can't really say it with conviction and revelation. But I think that he says, come to me, you're weary and heavy laden. Well, I am, and so I do. And so his burden is light and his yoke is easy. And I can live it with this bitter pill. I can live with God's grace, the sweetness of his presence, his peace, and it really does carry me. I mean, like literally does. And I know this, Ava, that the sharpness of what the grief could be and debilitating, I'm not experiencing it. I experience grief every day, but not as bad as it could be, because I believe that the Holy Spirit's doing a lot there. And I believe it's because people are praying. I wake up in the morning and I say, God, I just thank you for the saints that are praying for me, and I just take your grace that you have for me today. It's a daily thing.
How do you put up with living alone and imagining the future and all those things that of what life means now without Julie?
Yeah, I don't think much about the future. Yeah, a lot of the zest and adventure and joy of life was kind of zapped when Julie left, and so when I think about the future, I just kind of like, how about we do today and tomorrow and this week? And see, Julie said something really important to me right before she passed away, like 2 days before she passed away. And that was, she said two prophetic things. It was kind of almost like the last words she said to me. And that was that Kilometer Zero, our ministry of On the Red Box, is not closed. And that just because she's leaving doesn't mean that we stop what we're doing. And the second thing was, she said that I have not yet lived the best years of my ministry, but the best years of my ministry are yet to come. And it was just like kind of hard to believe that, but I do somehow just believe that. So my future is kind of like our little theme right now in our ministry is the best is yet to come, because why not? God goes from glory to glory. So I'm living today, be faithful to God today, seek God today, evangelize today, train evangelists today, and tomorrow really will take care of itself.
Where do you see yourself in the next 10 years?
I see myself in Spain. When Julie and I were dating, I had a call to Spain because I had visited Spain in '82. And I remember coming back saying, I'm going to live the rest of my days in Spain. And she says, hey, I always wanted to be in the ministry and I always wanted to be with you. So if it's Spain, let's go to Spain. And so when we arrived in Spain in 1987, we said, we're going to live and die in Spain. I mean, we've never felt like go back, to the United States. Well, Julie did that, She lived and died in Spain. So I guess now it's my turn to continue living. So I see myself in 10 years, if the Lord tarries, I'm just going to keep doing what God's called me to do here. I mean, my heart's really here.
What are some of the things that bring you hope and joy right now?
Yeah. Well, my grandkids. I've got 5 grandkids, and my kids love Jesus, which is a huge gift. And then my 5 grandkids, they think I'm like it, they think I'm the bomb. So I like that, I mean, they adore me. So we talk every day. That gives me a lot of joy. Some of the joy of life comes back as we live, but just looking forward to seeing what God, the best is yet to come. I do have an anticipation in my heart that God's going to bring this to another level. How, we don't know, but my kids and my grandkids and my ministry team gives me a lot of joy. They're my family here.
When do you see your grandkids next?
Christmas. So like right now we're in October, so that's like 2 months away.
Yeah, that's soon.
So
Very soon.
looking forward to that.